Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of RE081, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called I Told You So, written by Hell's Kitchen Sink.
Fools,
said the young Heranian.
Blind, stupid, self-centered fools.
Look, I paused for a moment, checking the application. If sent, I understand where you're coming from. Vacuum collapse doesn't seem very likely, and there are some very interesting possibilities in this proposal, but it's not safe. We'd really rather you not damage the fabric of space and time. We've had to deal with it once, and it got incredibly messy. We had to ask for help from some of the Ascended, and you know how they can be.
This from a human. What right do you have to hold back progress? You, who took decades to go from manned flight to manned space flight, who had nearly a century pass between landing on your moon and discovering faster than light travel. You, who spent 10,000 years at a technological plateau. What right do you have to say what can and cannot be done?
We're still here, I said, gently holding up my hands. The pulse of Fun's forehead veins were throbbing. They weren't much threat to me, skinny with their comically oversized skulls set on a slender and almost mouse-like frame. But I didn't want them to hurt themselves. Besides, their IQ was easily twice mine. It'd be an awful waste of a brilliant mind. Look, I know the energy crisis on your world is rough. We've got supplies of helium-3 to help supply you until you can develop your infrastructure to match your population. And we'd be happy to support you in small-scale tests in intergalactic space, where the damage is easier to limit,
and keeps us reliant on human resources and human hegemony. Fine. If you will not help us, there are others who will. We do not need the department's resources for this idea.
He stood up and turned on his paws, stalking out of the room. I sighed and leaned back in my chair. That could have gone better. I'd need to send a report to keep an eye on their attempts. If they succeeded, it would be a wonderful revolution in energy production. If they failed, their homeworld would be consumed, rendered into subatomic particles. It never ended.
It's debriefing unit 8717, Meatbag, and your next meeting is the Sopfont Devoni, a relics of the Purium Commune. He's here about the
scepter problem, I said, staring up at the ceiling.
Why, however did you guess? They've come up with a brilliant new solution to this issue, and are looking to be given access to genetic modification technologies.
Oh, God. I should turn him away on sight unseen, I sighed. Send him in. Devoni entered, beaming brilliantly, teeth flashing like diamonds, in no small part because they were. The silicon-based lifeform settled down into the chair across my desk like a small anthropomorphic tank, and threw his arms wide.
Sub-Director Valence, so good to see you.
How's the scepter problem going, Devoni?
Good,
he beamed back.
Well, adequate.
How are those high-energy sound wave generators we gave you doing on the problem?
Good. Well, not great, obviously, or I wouldn't be back here. You remember what we discussed when I came to you with the idea?
That even silicon-based lifeform is built redundantly enough to generally survive at resonant frequencies. Well, for example, a vehicle or a structure often isn't. Devoni smiled helplessly, shrugged those squared shoulders.
Well, the best laid plans of mice and men, as your species says, and much like the cunning mouse, Jerry, it appears that the scepter worked one step ahead of us. They've begun sheltering in our colony buildings. A few have even made it to other colonies aboard ships, and, well, they're getting to be a bit of a problem. So we had an idea.
Yes, the relics were very good with ideas. Hyper-intelligences that became stronger with increased refrigeration, and extreme inspiration from the circuit-like neural structures that wound through their entire body. Not great impulse control. Let me guess, does the scepter have any natural predators?
Why, yes. How did you guess?
Call it human intuition. Were you thinking of, I don't know, genetically modifying those predators, perhaps their birth rates?
See, this is why you're such a good friend, Sub-Director. We're refracting the same angle.
So, this predator, if they were sufficiently hungry and in sufficient numbers, do you think it could overcome a relax?
An adult? Heavens no. I mean, perhaps a small child, but... He paused. I begin to see your point, but I'm quite sure that we have it under control. I rubbed my forehead. Property damage is one thing. You know, I can't take this chance, Devani. If it'd harm a Sophont, oh, come now. Any deaths would be limited, and they are quite annoying. Have you ever read The Old Lady Who Swallowed a Fly? Ah, yes. Well, I don't know if an old human woman would be a very effective predator on Scepter. I really think the natural predator. That's a no, Devoni. Very well, I understand. He tapped his chin. I'll come up with several new proposals. Are you free tomorrow? Not really, I said. As Debbie said, yes, he is. I glared up the AI's camera. Penciling you in for 1 p.m. meeting, Sophont Devoni. He's less cranky after he's eaten. Oh, the torments of blood sugar. You know our species manufactures an implant that regulates and ensuring. I'll see how the consumer tests play out, I said, giving the apologetic smile. See you tomorrow, Devoni. I leaned back and sighed as the relics shuffled out. Who's next, Debbie? The indecipherable high-frequency particle bombardments of the ascended pan-neo-pagan. Oh, I smiled brightly. Thank God, a social wizard. Send him. Oh, you're already here. I raised an eyebrow at the vaguely humanoid cloud of light. I know you like to emphasize energy-type ascended beings, enjoy the whole we are as gods thing. Hicks, Nobbo. Hicks, but I remember when you were a scrawny little Nuba Nobbo. That was my flesh name. You really should address me as... There was a brief click from the Geiger counter as it neutralized as a burst of high-energy radiation. How have you been, Danny? I sighed. The usual. No matter how many times you tell someone the stove is hot. You know, of course, that his offer is still open. You could always ascend. I'm good, at least for now, I smiled. Still a lot to do. Humans, always so nervous about what is to come. You really need to let go of this anxiety about the future. You've reached the peak. You can leave any time you like. Join the rest of the Ascended. Stop toying around being giants in the playground. Your entire species spends all of its time like nerdsmaids on the younger races. Are you content to spend eternity keeping children from touching the stove? I sighed. He was too young to remember those early days, when we went out into the galaxy and found nothing but ashes. It was amazing, really, how good life was at destroying itself. There is a difference between a child burning its hand and a species getting their world consumed by biological weapon hicks. Besides, someday, there might be a problem even you can't handle. Someone's got to keep their eye on the Sagittarius anomaly and figure out who threw Andromeda at us. And it has to be you? Hicks shook his head, the light forming humming softly. Well, if you ever decide that you've had enough of ingratitude for putting out fires. Emergency, meatbag, said Debbie. The Ionian Prime Minister. Ionian, I rubbed my forehead. Ionian, that's a... Ah, God damn it. Hicks, I am out of here. You know you could clean up that mess in a day, at most. I was quiet for a moment. The Ascended never helps. Well, you know why. The universe consists of a quadrillion stars. They are all full of life. They're all full of idiots who kill themselves. I could spend the rest of eternity doing this, and it'd be a drop in the bucket. So, does it just make everyone into an asshole? Hey, Danny, come on now. You know I care about you. I'd intervene if it was you. But the Ionians, you told them what would happen. They decided to do it anyways. The light figure shrugged again. It's just perspective, man. Good luck. Try not to die. He was gone, as immediately and subtly as he arrived. I sighed as the door opened. The Ionian entered, his gears whizzing. A machine intelligence, one of the more benign ones, who had reached sapience after their creators killed themselves off with a biological weapon. They had been experimenting with uninhibited nanotech. They'd been quite confident that they would not succumb to the same issues. They possessed a limited hive mind, individuals with a constant connection to one another. I liked the Ionians. They were pleasant. I'd been the one who agreed to their request for research on artifacts from other civilizations that had undergone a nanotech-oriented collapse. I settled my fingers together, leaning forward on them.
Things have gone poorly, said the Prime Minister. We acquired additional artifacts. We had been close to a breakthrough. The risk was thought worth the reward. It turned out one of them was a berserker probe in disguise.
I bit back the words. The warning. There was always the temptation. You think of the problem, you see it coming, but they don't listen. But it wouldn't change what happened. Now see if we can save your home world, I said, reaching out and patting the steel reach that passed for his shoulder on the blocky machine. Let me make some calls. I called the head director. Eliminating uninhibited nanotech, even if it was actively malevolent rather than merely feral, would be simple enough for one of the fleets. There was one close to the planet. The main question was how long it would take to arrive. Hopefully, we could salvage some of it. We couldn't be everywhere, no matter how much we'd like to be. The Prime Minister left the office, bent forward under the weight of having done everything he could. I grunted and held my stomach. The damn ulcer was acting up again. With all the medical technology available to humanity, the stress of this job still ate a hole in my gut.
You ever think that maybe it is not for the best? Said Debbie lightly. I mean, who knows, maybe it's supposed to be like this. The more life reaches this level, the more damage they can do. Maybe you're like some 19th century woodsman, thinking that preventing forest fires is helping the environment, when it's actually going to lead to a worse and more severe crisis over time. I sighed. Debbie had been one of the species of genocidal mechanical intelligences. Humanity did our best to re-socialize them, but she couldn't help herself sometimes. Thank you for your input, Debbie. Any more meetings today? Yeah. Looks like the Vivid Shade want to experiment with the Mahavaric mining. Oh, and you'll like this. They're planning on digging the mine with a naked singularity.
I belched and felt a tang of acid. Send them in and order me some Pepto-Bismol. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.